Welcome to The Difference Makers, a Paladin security podcast. We'll take you inside the world of security and share firsthand expertise from our industry professionals. Join us as we dive into everything security and explore the journeys of those who go above and beyond to make our world a safer and friendlier place.
Welcome to The Difference Makers. I'm Christina Heidanis. When you think about security or a large company that spans across North America, do you ever wonder how it got to where it is? A part of that can be attributed to the marketing team for its innovative campaigns, employee engagement, and creative social media posts, which helps shape the perception of the company. At Paladin Security, Alexandra Lowe is leading that team. As Vice President of Marketing and Communications, she ensures growth and visibility, among other things, and also provides leadership and mentorship as one of the company's youngest VPs. Here to share her journey and discuss what it takes to find positive results is Alex Lowe. Well, welcome, Alex. Thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You've always been interested in marketing and communications. Give me the Coles Notes version on how you got to be the VP of Marketing Communications for Paladin Group of Companies.
Yeah, good question. So I'm the kind of person who, as a kid, was always making advertisements. I was selling my brother's toys. And so it always was an area of passion for me. But really, as I kind of went through my studies in university and my first couple jobs, I think what attracted me most to this industry was that it's kind of a mix of analytical thinking, strategic thinking, and creativity, just finding good ideas and ways to align that with your brand. And so throughout my journey, I think that's what resonated most with me and how I got to where I am today.
Okay. So what kind of steps did you take? What were the roles that kind of catapulted you to this position?
Sure. Yeah. So I, like many people at Paladin, are an SFU alumni, Simon Fraser University. I studied communication there, and I went to the school actually because they had softball there. And it was one of those closest schools to me that had varsity softball, and that was my passion. So that's what brought me there. But again, I really love the marketing advertising component, and communications really drew me in. So I studied communications there, and I did co-op while I was doing it, which for anyone listening that's a student right now, I'd highly recommend. Just you get great work experience. We have a lot of co-op students on our team too, which are fantastic to have. But I think for me, that's really where I was able to learn the different areas that I liked. So I did some event planning stuff. I did some technical writing with Samsung. And Samsung's with actually this really cool research and development lab there. And it was with mobile security and their platform called Knox at the time. And that was really cool for me to learn a whole new world of mobile security, cybersecurity. And kind of, I guess, was my first little foray into the security industry. So after graduating, I joined an agency for a little bit and then decided really agency work wasn't for me, just because I love being in-house in marketing. I love knowing a brand fully, what makes it, what it is, and then what activities you can tie in better. Because I felt as an agency, I never fully got that. I never fully was immersed in what the brand was. So that's what drew me back to in-house. Okay. And then many moons ago, BMS Integrated Services, which was a local supplier, an integrator, here in Western Canada, they were looking for a proposal and marketing coordinator. And so it kind of hit at the right time. I was hired on, and then 6 months later, that company was acquired by Paladin, and then later formed the Paladin Technologies brand that it is today. And then after being in that role for about 4 years, kind of working my way through different ranks and stuff, a director of marketing position opened up at Paladin. It was, again, for me, something I was humming and hawing about. And it was something that, as we were involved in kind of the hiring process and vetting through applicants, I was like, well, I think I'm a better fit for this than these guys are. Not to, toot my own horn, but no one kind of got our brand the way that we did. And so, at the time, I did a pitch to Ashley Cooper, our CEO. Looking back on it now, it's probably hilarious, but it was a marketing plan that I made and what I planned on doing in the role and with the department. And so Ashley reviewed this proposal. He was excited about it. And then I went through the interview stages. It was one of the hardest interviews of my life, pretty grueling, but I got the role. It was really an exciting transition for me, being kind of in a different side of the company, moving to our manpower services. And then 2 years ago almost, was my promotion to vice president. So through that was kind of the involvement of working with all their big brands that make up the Paladin group of companies, helping support the growth there and what that looks like. So yeah, it's been an exciting journey, but I've been loving it.
Very cool. So I get this question a lot. I don't know about you, but whenever I say people like what I do, they say, well, what is communications? Like, they don't understand. They say it's such a broad term. And so what exactly do you do? So explain to me marketing and communications from a corporate standpoint to everyone. And I guess what we do here at Paladin and the benefits of having it kind of in-house within the company.
Yes, that's a really great question. Something that people ask so often. And I will say it started from when I took it in university. People said, what are you going to do with a degree in communication? And I kind of looked at them and said, what aren't you going to do? You're learning how to properly communicate, persuasively communicate. And, one of the most favorite quotes, I guess, from a professor I had at Simon Fraser, it was, you can never communicate wrong, just badly. So, there are better ways to do it and worse ways to do it. But, any way of communicating is communicating. So that's kind of, I think, why we struggle I think the professor was like, why you struggle to tell your parents what you're doing. Right. But again, as communicators, why we kind of struggle, because it is something that everyone does as part of their job, as part of, their day-to-day and their relationships, their personal life, their work life. And so with us and, in the role with a company, communication is so key in a few different ways. I think one of the most important ones is really your culture and your brand, because how you communicate shapes your brand, shapes your culture. If let's say all communication goes through very stark professional emails, that's your brand, right? That's your communication style. And so I think that's why it's so important to have people do that in-house who inherently know the goals of the organization, what messages we're trying to relay, and then are able to, form that in a way that's, maybe persuasive, that's strategic, that aligns with these goals that we have. And so, that extends to multiple different areas. That could be, from your first employee's onboarding experience. That could be from your client's first proposal that they get from us. And so it's a lot of different avenues. And, while we can't touch every single area in our department, and I know we'd love to, but it's so important for us to be able to influence how people are communicating within our company that align with our brand, that align with our culture.
And it's not necessarily like its own department, even though it is, because it is so intertwined with like every other department within the company.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a bit of an agency, if you will, in our own right of supporting, our clients are the various branch leaders, the various, people within our company who need support, whatever that looks like, right? And so that's why I think one of the things I love about our department is how varied my role can be day to day, who I get to work with and who we get to support in these ways.
Right. So in our department, we do, internal and external marketing and communication. So we focus on the clients and the employees. Both of them are equally as important, especially connecting with the employees. You talked a little bit about making sure that they have the right forms of communication to them and that type of thing. So why is it the case that it is, the employees are just as important as our clients to be able to connect with and have them know what's going on?
Yeah. Employee experience is one of the coolest parts of my job. I think it's one of those things where so much of our focus as a department is on our employees and their experience, and they shape what our customers see of our brand. They are the best marketing tools we have because they embody our culture. Their smile shows everything the client needs to see in that moment, right? And we've got almost 19,000 employees walking around with our logo on it, right? So the effect of that is massive, and that's a huge resource for us to tap into. And so that's why, what so much of our department focuses on is that experience that employee has, because the better that their employee experience is, I don't care what campaign we do, that is the best bang for our buck by far.
Right. And now regarding just the marketing team in general for the Paladin Group of companies, it's stretched across the country. And even in the United States too. So how challenging is that to lead a department that isn't that you can walk down the hall and talk to everybody, and kind of everyone's in a different time zone, different location. And then also, the impact it has on, campaigns or just different work that you're doing.
Yeah. That's a great question. It really, I think COVID in a way was a bit of a blessing for us with hybrid work models, and introducing kind of this sense of a global team and bringing in that level of diversity for us too. I think that's one of the biggest benefits that we've really had in, being able to have different time zones, different people from different experiences, especially, in an industry, security is so face-to-face, right? We have physical people there speaking with you. And so to lose that in a marketing perspective, it really can hurt us. And so I think being able to focus on how do we connect with people and doing that in different ways, I think it really can be eye-opening and how we can better communicate with people. A lot of our, let's say, corporate communication to field staff, it's done through email, it's done through, online resources, social media sometimes. So how do we add that people element that is so lacking from digital communication? It's a tough one to kind of reconcile. But I think that fact that our team is remote and dealing with that every day makes us better at being able to have that element, that human element, that is often missing from the digital component. I also think on an external basis, everyone's craving that authentic self in any communication that comes through. That's why we're seeing video platforms being such a huge dominating force in, everyone's marketing strategy today. So that's why, I think the more we can incorporate that as a team and take advantage of, these different platforms, the different capabilities they have, and use that to our advantage and then apply it to our work is really, really crucial.
Yeah, for sure. Now, for the Paladin group of companies, it's made up of Paladin, Pal American, Concord, Parking, and Paladin Risk. So what are some of the marketing challenges of having to handle 4 different brands that are, do different things too?
I think one of the big components of having 4 different brands that have different focuses, different markets, is really being aligned on strategy, on really making sure we are clear about what the goals of this brand are, and being as specific as possible about those activities and being organized in that way. I'm not going to lie, it can be challenging to shift mindset to mindset, going from parking to investigations is not an easy task switching component, which is a whole other thing I could talk about. But I think it's really defining that clarity on what is our goal? What's the purpose? And making sure that those are done in a way that, is using SMART goal objectives, really being clear about what we're looking to get out of every interaction.
Now, we talked about you leading the team, the marketing team. You are a young female leader in a traditionally male-dominated industry. I know a lot of people don't like that term, insecurity, because they don't think it's true. And it is getting better over the years. But did you ever have kind of imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Absolutely. I will say, I think might have to fact check this, but I will say I think I'm one of Paladin's youngest VPs, if not the youngest that we've had here. I'm also a female, and yes, I know the age-old term of it being a male-dominated industry is, it is true. I'm looking at my peers, and while we do have a lot of strong female leaders here, we are a minority in that standpoint. But I think from my experience, I've been one of those people who's just never been afraid to speak my mind, and I know what I know, right? And so I think from being a young female in the industry, having a lot of great young, or not even young, but just women leaders who were able to mentor me and support me in that way. My mom being one of the biggest ones, is she was a team lead for her work, and watching her confidence and what she had really shaped my confidence. And so having that, that mentor from such an early age really kind of set the ground for me to know where my place was and know how to be able to ask for what I want and what I'm looking for. I think, anyone who knows me knows that I'm not kind of that girl boss sort of go-getter person. And I think for me, being really authentic to who I am, I love to have fun at work. I love to, have candid conversations and brainstorm. And so leaning into that, that personality trait of me and making that work for me, right? I can be able to have conversations with people and understand what they think about something that makes me be able to better use that. And, whether it's a communication or whether it's a marketing campaign. And so I think like the hardest thing when I was envisioning myself in these roles was getting over that barrier of I had to be, a hard ass, or I had to be really determined and incredibly, smart on whatever it was I was talking about. And I think I've learned over my career is that a lot of it's just about leaning into your strengths and building that confidence in yourself and understanding where your shortcomings are, right? I will be the first to admit where I fault, but surrounding yourself with people who can support that is so important. And so I think from, my journey as a woman there, and I think one of the things that irked me the most about, seeing people who are in male-dominated industries talk about their strength as a woman being, communication. Communication is where women excel, and that's what we're good at, right? Compared to men. And I'm like, well, no, everyone should communicate. That's not a thing. And that's what bothered me about it. So, like, communication is in my job title. It's something, I should be good at. But beyond that, I have other skills to bring to the table. And how am I using that in order to support and get our goals forward? And I think understanding that strategy for myself personally, I was able to apply it in this role and achieve some of the stuff that I have today.
You touched on it a little bit, and it's a good point of, leaning into your strengths. But like, was there ever a time that you, just any time throughout your career that you felt you really needed to speak up and maybe you didn't, and then you regretted it later, or you did and you had to find that empowerment to be able to bring it forward and kind of lay it out there to say what you think or feel?
That's a really great question. Yes, I think on both sides. I think I've had experiences where I would kind of go along with something, okay, yeah, sure, that sounds great. That's what so-and-so wants me to do, not fully believing in what the end product was or having that lack of clarity. And I think that bit me when it came back around to it, right? It was like, oh, this is not what the expectation was. Why did we do things that way? This is a project I was supposed to own, and I wasn't clear on it, and I wasn't committed to it. And I think that's, one of the things for me as I've learned about myself in the working world is I need to fully believe on something and be on board with it. And so if I'm not being true to that and not really understanding what the project is, what the deliverables are, or thinking it's going to work, I'm not going to produce the best results. And so I think the learning for me was to make sure that you're asking those questions, you're getting clarity, that, anything that comes through, you're knowing exactly. Because I think so often as, someone new to the workforce or growing in there, we kind of have this expectation we're supposed to know everything, and really kind of like, okay, yeah, me, for example, in the world of security, there's so much unknowns. The industry changes so fast. And sometimes asking the simple questions of like, what does that acronym stand for? What does that mean? It just makes it harder and harder to ask the next time. And so, I think just having that open mind and asking, why are we doing it that way? Or, what's the reason behind this is one of the best tools you can have in the working world.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's such a good point too, because if you don't know, just in the end, it kind of makes you look stupid that you don't know, right? And then it's just like, okay, why didn't you ask that at the beginning compared to now? So I wanted to ask, what is something that you are the most proud of in your career? Like, what have you done that you are extremely proud of? Or even, it doesn't even have to be a project. It could just be, how you got to where you are at such a young age or anything like that.
Well, that's a tough one. Maybe it shouldn't be, but there's been so many projects that I've been stoked about to be involved with. At so many different levels in my career. I think, as one of the projects I think I've been most excited about from a management perspective would be some of the recruitment campaigns we did last year for Paladin. Over COVID, hiring was crazy. The economy was going all over the place, and hiring was tough for us. It was really tough. And so I think my team banding together, we worked on some really crazy research projects and got some amazing insight. We collaborated with our HR teams, and we were able to produce some really exciting campaigns that our whole leadership team was excited about. We rallied behind. And I think that for me as a manager was so exciting to see, not just the end product we did, which was fantastic, but being able to see all the different people we worked with in all the different areas that we touched on. And, being able to see how well we collaborated with other departments and really getting that buy-in, I think that's something, marketing and organizations can often be kind of siloed because of, some of the stuff we're working on is very separate. Sometimes we'll work really closely with certain departments, but with this, we were working tight with our HR teams, with our innovation team, with our leadership teams, and being able to make some really impactful suggestions. And I think that's one of the things I love about my job specifically here at Paladin is the impact that I am able to have. And that's what kind of keeps me excited about coming to work every day.
And one of those projects that was really cool was the Mall Cop one. It was a little bit of a disruptive campaign. What did you love about that? What made you so passionate about it to push out that vision and get it out there?
Yes, that was a really great one. That one it was very polarizing in some ways. We had a lot of positive feedback on it and some negative as well, which in my mind, any good campaign should have, no press is bad press kind of thing. But I think one of the things that when we were kind of discussing it in the mindset is it came from a conference that we were at. And this one is a marketing agency. And they had this vision of kind of disrupting the industry. And they were talking about the different stuff that they did it. And our president, Chad, and I were kind of brainstorming afterwards and saying, well, how could we disrupt? What are the myths about security? And so in brainstorming later with our team, Mall Cop is something that gets thrown around all the time on our Instagram, on our Facebook of, just kind of that Paul Blart type of mentality. And so it was really exciting for us to use that as an opportunity to show the empowerment that our staff has. And I think really from looking at a recruitment perspective, even, if someone's hesitant to work with us because they believe, security officers or mall cops and whatever that looks like, this was a great way to kind of reclaim that term and take it back as a term of endearment. And, we are looking at the amazing things that people do in these areas. And, mall cop diminishes that. But how can we really showcase the incredible training our officers go through, the things they work with day to day that, these lead to careers in policing and investigations and a bunch of other areas. And so, just the term mall cop really diminishes that. And so how can we take that back and reclaim it? And I think it's still to date our most viewed video on YouTube, which is so exciting. Wow. And I love watching it every time. It kind of gives me chills. So,
okay. So if you were looking at marketing as a whole, just in general, I know it's so different across, different industries and stuff like that, but what would you want the marketing world to do differently? Like, what do you think is kind of old and stale or that kind of bothers you when you see other companies or agencies or industries doing that? You're just like, come on, like we can do better than that.
Yes, a lot. I think one of the biggest things that is tough is that we have so many platforms that make us so accessible to consumers. So social media, for example, anyone can start up an Instagram account. Anyone can start up, a TikTok account for that. And it kind of dilutes some of the finesse of what happens through marketing. So, some of the stuff that goes into a campaign, to that subtlety, to that quick reaction to a trend or something like that, and taking that on, brands are being forced to more and more jump on things the second it happens, the second something goes viral, to be able to perfectly message that. And I think that's kind of one of the hard things about industries that are so curated and so careful and regulated too, right? Which is a very, very real thing. But, from our perspective, a customer perspective, is that customers are getting more and more impatient. And, where's our response to this? Where is the perfectly curated vision that this company has with this? And so I think for marketers to kind of be able to take a more and more authentic and valuable approach to how we are creating content that's going out in the world, how we're being, strategic but quick, and kind of expecting marketers to not be so curated, but to be living the values of that brand every single day, so that we can jump on these quick trends that go through these viral moments and, be able to deliver a message that's on brand without having all the bells and whistles and, perfect lighting or perfect actor for whatever video it might be. So I think that's something where, in the industry, I'd push people to go more and more authentic and, show your real people, show what happens. I think from, our perspective at Paladin, our people have so many incredible stories, and us being able to tap into those from, just someone sharing their experience or something amazing that they did. It's obvious to end users that is exciting and that is what they want to see. And so, it's hard from setting that up and getting those stories. But it is something that we need to do more and more as an industry.
For sure. Finally, I just wanted to ask, what is your advice to anyone who wants to get into corporate marketing and communications? You mentioned earlier that if you're a co-op student and you're looking for a co-op, it's a great place. Just kind of get your feet wet and know if it's right for you. But what would be your advice to people on that front?
That's a great question. I think marketing is one of those fun industries where it's really accessible. Like I said, anyone can start an Instagram account. Anyone can, tap into some of the tools. There's a lot of really cool, easy, free tool options. And so being able to kind of get that and leverage that for your experience, I think, most people can probably connect with someone who's got a brand that needs support, with website content or social media design. I really encourage people to take that look and, at their scope of impact and reflect on what worked and what didn't. I think one of the things I love about marketing is it's a series of research. How are you, doing something, adjusting for it and redoing it? And so I think that's what I encourage people to do is be curious about that in your personal life and how you can take that then to a professional standpoint. And, experience is obviously huge in marketing and getting experience with different brands and different industries. But also, finding what you love about it and leaning into it. This is a really fun department that we have so many facets, right? You can be in graphic design and social media, in writing and content, in analytics and number crunching. So I think that's really one of those things is to find what you're excited about and lean into that and find ways that you can kind of leverage that skill set.
That's great advice. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us on The Difference Makers. It was so good to hear about your experience and, your rise through the ranks and to where you are today. And it's been really great.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Christina. It's been awesome being here.
Hey, thanks for tuning in with The Difference Makers. If you want to hear more about the ins and outs of the security industry from real professionals, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Also, check out new episodes on the first Tuesday of every month. Till next time.